my neighbor's garbage, getting noshing from their garbage. It was
gewaldig.
Great.
Did your neighbor own those birds? I'm assuming not.
probably not. No.
Yeah. I hear you. Okay, so let's go. So we're on
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
So we're on Amud Beis now. You test Amud Beis heavy into the sugi of shtaris, right? So again, so we're going through all the sugis of when do you need to confirm a star? I mean, every star that has witnesses needs to be confirmed of who made the star. That's pashut, right? The question is how many do you need and how do you confirm it? So the Gemara is going through all these different scenarios of when it works, when it doesn't work, 1 aid, 2 aid, and so let's see. So Tana Rabbanan, we're about 10 lines up from the bottom. So Tana Rabbanan, Shnayim chasumen ala shtar umesu. 2 people sign on the star, and then they died. You press some base on the bottom. Yeah. So Shnayim chasumen ala shtar umesu. 2 guys signed on the star, and then they died. Ubo Shnayim in ashuk. And 2 people from the shuk came and said, we know that this is their signature. They were forced into signing the star. They were underage. Or they were pasul. They're believed. Now why? Because again, right? They're the ones that said it was. If they wanted to just say that the star is pasul, they could have just said we don't recognize the signatures. But this that they said they do recognize the signatures, but the signatures are no good. So that's your classic pesha aser, hua pesha hitter, right? They're going to be believed.
Why do you need pesha aser?
What else?
This has nothing to do with keeping jehigit.
No, it's not.
I understand that, but the Gemara before said you need pesha aser in order so you don't have the issue of keeping jehigit, correct?
No, even without that, that you need.
The Gemara's mashma. It's only because you have pesha aser that it would work to destroy your edus.
What do you mean? They're are they believed now or not? We're saying that they're believed.
I understand that, but my question is, why do you have to come out to pesha aser? Stop. It's edus about hachasha. Let's say worst case scenario, you don't have pesha aser here.
Right.
You'd still be believed. You'd still be believed because they're being machash edus. They're edus against edus here. They're saying these people are not good edus, right?
Right.
So they're being machash edus. Why do you need pesha aser to be machash edus?
Because the edus is a good edus.
Who cares? I'm saying it's not a good edus because they're a puzzle. Why do you need pesha aser to say that they're puzzle edus?
Because why should you believe one said over the other?
I agree, but when you have edom against edom, you're being machash to edom. So you might make a veil of right. You can't use that as star for anything.
No, I don't know. I'm not sure where Amayt Mechaver comes in here, but you're gonna.
I do know if you have 2 edom, that are going 2 pairs of edom that go against each other, and you're trying to be mighty mammon, you can't use one edus over another edus to go ahead and be mighty the mammon.
That's true. But I don't know.
So then why is this any better than that? You have edus from a star, and you have edom that's saying that they're puzzle. So at best case scenario, it's 2 edom against 2 edom. Why do you need pesha aser to say that?
Well, I don't. Is that the Gemara's next kasha? Let's see the next kasha, then see if I'm not sure if that's what you're saying. Well, let's see the next kasha. So again, the first case is of the brisa is that they come and they say we recognize these dead Adam's handwriting, but they were pasul Adams. So they're believed because pesha aser. But if there's a different set of Adam that said it's their ksav yad, or their ksav yad came out from someplace else, meaning they found another document that had their signatures and they were able to prove it that way. Mishtar shekaral of irur, though, but it has to come from a star that somebody actually brought up that maybe it's a problem, and still it got proven. And it was muhsik and bezdin, meaning it's not stam that you can go find. The Gemara is going to discuss this later. To prove it from a different star is not stam that they found a star laying in the street with a similar signature. That's not enough. It has to be a star where people came and complained and said, we don't think that this is valid. and it went through the court system, and the court system proved that it was valid. So then if you could compare those signatures to the ones that are on this shtar, then it works. So if that happened, then ain elu neman, and then they're not neman again, because they don't have peshas or pesheter, because these eidim were proven that they were good, and then came along these two eidim and said no, they were puzzle, so they're not going to be believed. So Gemara says, so what are you going to do? You're going to collect it like a regular star? By my tray or tray nanu. It's 2 against 2. Right, Akiva, I think this is what you were asking. I mean, you were asking in a little different scenario, but it's 2 and 2, right? Because you have 2 Adam who prove that these signatures are valid, and you have another 2 Adam who say that these guys were puzzled. So why are you going to collect if it's 2 against 2? So Rav Sheshes says, Hachasha tchilas Hazama. Hachasha, when you how do you touch Hachasha? I'm not sure how to touch Hachasha.
Contradictory.
When you okay, yeah, that's good. That's good. So when you contradict Adam, that's the beginning of Hazama. Meaning Adam Zayim means when Adam get disproven by other Adam coming and saying that you us, how could you have been in this place? Right? So Hachasha is tchilas Hazama. So what does that make a difference? So on Talmud Aleph now. The same way, you can't disprove the Adam unless they're there. I mean, you can't have a whole court case and say, oh, Reuven and Shimon who testified that this guy killed somebody, they were with us at the ball game. You can't do that unless Reuven and Shimon are there in Bezdin. So same thing here. So Hachasha is we're on the top of Chaf Amid Aleph, right? So again, the same way that you can't do Hazama on Edom and only in front of them. Same thing. We're not makrish to Edom.
Why? What's the shaykhus?
What?
One is when you're being mazim somebody, you're causing them that they could go ahead and either owe money or they could get killed for that. So in order to do that, you have to be in front of them because you're donning on them a certain din. By hackchasha, you're not doing anything to them. You're not causing din on them. You're not causing them to get to lose mammon or to get killed or to get malchus. All you're doing is saying you're different testimony than them. You're not going against the Eidim themselves. You're going against the Eidus.
Right. So I think we're just saying that it's the beginning of the Hazama process.
I understand that, but Hagufa, there's a huge chilik regarding this specific idea. There's a huge chilik. One of them, you're donning on them. They could literally get killed because you're Eidus. The other one, they don't. Nothing happens to them.
True.
You're being chayil condemned. So why would the Gemara say what shaykhus is Tchilas Hazama? It's a completely different scenario in terms of this specific point.
I just wonder if maybe if they already were mukhash, so then maybe there's a chance that they're going to get Adam Zayman to come, right? Meaning it's going to get the ball rolling. Once we see that these guys are not honest, then they say, okay, we need to find 2 guys who are standing with these dishonest guys, and then we're going to make them into Zayman.
You can say the opposite way. These people are setting themselves up to be liars as well. Hachasha goes both ways.
Could be.
Hazama doesn't. For whatever reason, that's the chiddush of Hazama. Hazama doesn't go both ways, but Hachasha does.
Right. I hear. Okay. I don't know. I'm not sure. So anyways, so let's see. So Amalei Rav Nachman, third line down. Amalei Rav Nachman, Ilu have a come on. So now, if these Eidim would have been in front of us, one second, let's just make sure we I don't know if I explained it. So the previous Gemara, these Eidim died. So since they're dead, we can't be makrishem because they're obviously not in front of us. So since we can't be makrishem, therefore their original testimony stands with their signature were confirmed. So therefore it's basically one of these legal loopholes that you get away with it, right? Because their signatures were confirmed, even though we have Eidim who say that they were puzzled, but we can't do anything about it because they're not in Bezdin. Right, to which Akiva has his kasha on that, but that's what the Gemara is saying. So then,
what's the point of having Adam then?
No, once they have the Eidus as established, then you can't be makrich them, and then unless the people that you try to be makrich are in Bezdin to be able to defend themselves. Oh. It's a legal, yeah, you're right. It's a legal loophole in that sense. Meaning, I guess in a regular court case, maybe they would put out feelers to see if there's anybody that's going to be makish. And once Bezdin already decided, like here, when they already confirmed the signatures, so they confirmed it. So let's see. So Amalei Rav Nachman. So Rav Nachman has a kasha on this. Elo have a kamon, right? We're going to slug this up anyway. So that Rav Nachman's slugging this up by this with this kasha. Amalei Rav Nachman. Elo have a kamon. Let's say they were in front of us, right? These guys were alive. They had tchias hamesim. They were alive. And we would have, what do you call it? What do you touch it again? Contradicted them, right? And you would have contradicted them. Havu hackchasha, right? It would have been hackchasha. And we wouldn't even listen to them. Because it would be an edus that was contradicted. Hashta the lesnu, and now that they're not here, the ilu havala kaman, dilma hava maidulo mehemno. Are we now that they're not in front of us? That maybe that they been in front of us, they could have agreed and been minded to it. So now we believe them. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. If we're saying that if they were alive, we would say that their edus is no good. So if they're dead, right? If they're dead, and but they're not here, meaning they're not here. So, and we're gonna declare and say, well, maybe if they were here, they would admit. So now we're gonna believe them. Doesn't make sense. Yeah, I guess. Right, meaning right. If you're not gonna believe them if you're not gonna believe them when they're alive, you're certainly not gonna believe them when they're dead. So Ella, but Rav Nachman changes, right? We said anytime the Gemara says the word Ella, it's a new shot. Ella, Rav Nachman, uki trey lahadi trey. This is exactly what Akiva was saying. They take two next to two because you had two Adim who said the signatures were legit. You have the other two Adim who said they were legit, but these guys are a bunch of they either apostle Adim or they were katanim. And therefore the money goes in the chazaka, whoever has it. Meaning the star is not whoever wants to use this star is gonna have to prove that it was legit. Midi Dava.
Rashi says that if the guy would be already have the money, then he's a mopsik in it.
Right. So that's a whole different issue.
Is that totally no sugi like Takvakayan?
Yes, exactly. 100%. That's mamash totally in the whole sugi of Takvakayan, meaning if the guy already grabbed it, let's say the guy grabbed it.
You have no right to it, like Mechatesi, you never established the right to it.
That's a whole issue unto itself. Yeah, it's mamash to Takvakayan sugi. So then the Gemara says, Mididava nichsi the Bar Shatya was similar to the sugi of the Nechasim Bar Shatya. The Bar Shatya, Zavin nichse, Bar Shatya sold his nechasim. Rashi says it's talking about karka. Sold his property. Also betrey. And the two witnesses come and say that Bar Shatya was I don't know if that's where the word Bar Shatya comes from, but Bar Shatya was a shaita when he sold it, and therefore it's no good. Also betrey. Right, and then came another two and said he sold it when he was right. We said that's the sense of humor. This Gemara is in Yavamas, right? That the word cholim, chayla, could means healthy here, right? Okay, and they said that he was healthy. So we have two Eidim against two Eidim. Two are saying that Bar Shatya sold it when he was sick, when he was not mentally capable, and two said he did it when he was. So Ravashi uki trey lahadi trey. You put two against two. Uki mamayna b'cheskas Bar Shatya, and we put the money in the chazaka of Bar Shatya. But the Gemara says this, that we're gonna put the chazaka and we're gonna say it belongs to Bar Shatya. That's only where Bar Shatya got the fields from his father. But if he didn't get it from his father, Amrinon. So we're gonna say Kishu Shaita Zavin, right? When he bought it when he was a shaita, that means he sold it also when he's a shaita. So therefore, we're going to say that, well, if he was a shaita for one, he's a shaita for other. And if the purchase works, and then the sale works, right? So meaning, so this whole thing, this whole lumdus only if he's taka yarshined it or got it from his father, but not if he bought it. Because you can't say, well, for the purchase he was healthy, and then for the sale he wasn't healthy, because you gotta go with one or the other. Fine. So then we
maybe he's schizophrenic.
Then it could. It's what it sounds like, right? I'm assuming that's where the name Bar Shatya came from, right? He was in and out, right? He was the lachayra.
But that create a race on everything you bought at that point?
What?
would that create a race on everything you bought?
I
Ever?
would assume so. No, I would
And then
think
what?
that. I have no idea, Mamish. I have
So
no idea.
every property that you
Right.
bought would have
Akiva, just the lawyers make a lot of money in that case.
No, I know the Rishonim say it's only B'daf Karka because you go bust a Cheskes Mari, but for any Karka you buy, everyone can be just Teveh you and say, I'm gonna take that. Any other property, the guy who sold it could say, I'm gonna take that back because you have a reyes on you being a shaiter or not.
Yeah, it could be. It could very well. Yeah, you're right. It's a
Is there any chazaka that is normal most of the time?
I don't know. The Gemara doesn't seem to say so.
Not with Bar Shatya.
Yeah.
Bar Shatya,
He had bouts of temporary insanity, so there's no way to know whether he was normal half the time or not.
If you have two Adam that knew that when he signed it,
What
it's
happened?
good.
You had two agents saying he was healthy, and you had two agents saying he wasn't healthy. We have this all the time, right? You have the what do you call it? Temporary insanity plea, right? Do we have any lawyers on? We got accountants, we got doctors, we got we don't got any lawyers. There were no lawyers. All right. We need a lawyer for these Gemaras.
We got rabbis.
Yeah, a lot of people have
rabbis.
Talmudic law degrees.
Talmud.
Oh yeah, thanks for reminding me, Icky. I am masters of Talmud law.
Icky, most of us is just getting you credits in college. It's not getting you more than that.
I thought it was a real degree. I'm sorry.
Not really.
A story about Lonim on here too. At least one Batlin, right? But yeah, I don't know.
What type of Batlin?
Yeah. Anyways, fine. Okay, so we go back to Summer Babo. Ein mazim es aidim ela b'fneim. You're not allowed to do hazama, right? You can't say imanu hayisem, right? The whole sugi is in makas, unless hackchasha es aidim shaloi b'fneim. But you can do hackchasha, not like what the Gemara was saying before, when they're not there. Meaning you could contradict the aidim when they're not in front of you. Hazama shaloi b'fneim. Right, and hazama and doing the hazama not in front of them, nehardai hazama lehavi. So it won't be hazama, but hackchasha miyahavi. But a contradiction it will be. Meaning, if the edim come and say imanu hayisem, that whole deal, but the people that they're testifying against are not there, so then they cannot become edim zayim, but they can become hukchash. They can become the edus can be mevatel the edus. Fine. So if there are edim that it's ksav yodam, or the ksav yodam came from somebody else, mishtar shekara love irer, but it has to come from a star that they literally translate means they called on it. Irer means like the ma'ira, the complaints. And then Bezdin confirmed it. Right? We said it's not stam that they can go find a star that had similar signatures and compare the signatures and say, oh, it's kosher. Right? That's not going to work. Right? It has to be a star that somebody came and complained about it, and yet Bezdin still confirmed it. So Gemara asks or says, Karol of Irer in. It's only if somebody had a complaint against the star, loy Karol of Irer loy. But if he didn't, if nobody complained about it, then you can't use that star with the signatures to compare to this star with the signatures. You can only be Makayim a star from a star that somebody complained about and Bezdin still confirmed.
What's the chiddush of this Gemara? Of course.
What?
Isn't that pshita? If you never proved the other star, like Rashi says, who says that's a good star? Like, what's the chiddush of this Gemara?
Oh, I understood it to mean that Stama star that nobody complained about is not good enough. It has to be somebody complained. You could talking about a star that was confirmed. And the other option is a star that was confirmed in Bezdin, but nobody ever complained about it. It never had any.
How do we know? How do we know the other? If somebody produces a star, what's the Gemara's happening? If somebody produces a star to prove this star is a good star, and he produces another star for that, but that star was never Makayim because we never proved those witnesses. It's actually their signatures. Why is one star any better than the other? They both have issues. Nobody's Makayim either star. What's the chiddush of the Gemara to say that you have to be Karol Avera and they're Makayim?
Oh, dafka won a star that they had people had complaints about, and it still made it through the legal system. That's
right, because
exactly
they were Mekayim. They had to go out and find the signatures were correct. But using
correct.
Stama star, what's the chiddush? Of course, you using any star. Who said that's a good star? Who said those are real signatures? Maybe those are awesome. So
that's exactly it. So it doesn't work. You need to have a star that ran through the Bezdin system and still survive.
I'm saying, but what's the chiddush? Of course. Isn't that pshita?
No. Why wouldn't you just say a star that Bezdin confirmed without any hack? Why can't you use that? Right? You can't use that. You cannot use a star that didn't go through some sort of legal hack. That's the right word. It needs to have gone through some legal hack. Stama confirmed star does not work.
I agree. I just think it's pshita. I don't think it needs a chiddush to that.
Oh, I don't know. I thought it was a chiddush. Why can't I just use a confirmed star?
Because we have no idea if those are good witnesses. Those are good signatures.
What was confirmed?
Who confirmed it?
Who ate him?
Are we saying that Adam confirmed it, or was just you? Why do you need?
Adam confirmed it, but nobody ever spoke up against it. Meaning there was nobody fighting against it. Meaning
I didn't want to be more than I hear.
I don't know. That's why I learned it. But okay. All right. So let's see. Amar nehardai ein mekayim a star ela mishtei Kesubos. In nehardai, the only way they were mekayim stars, you needed 2 Kesubos, right? Oy mishtei sados, or two documents that the guy sold 2 fields. Busha achlam baleim gimel shanim uvashofi, right? It has to be that the baleim also, not only did the owners buy the field, they needed to buy the field and live there for 3 years without anybody hacking them. And that shows that those were legitimate shtaros and those are legitimate signatures, right? So whether the nehardai are arguing on the previous Gemara is debatable, right? But again, in the nehardai, the way they were mekayim stars, you needed to have 2 shtaros or 2 fields, right? And then the person had to be living in the field for 3 years and without any complaints. Right? But this is only when it comes out of somebody else's hand. Meaning it has to be that you get it from somebody independent of this whole business in court. But if the guy who's trying to prove the star says, "Oh, I have 2 other stars. I did previous business with them, and here are the stars, and this is their signatures," that doesn't work, right? So the Gemara asks, how come it doesn't work on him? So because maybe he forged it. Maybe the guy went, right, and saw them, and he came and was mezayef them. Meaning he was mezayef the first 2, and then he was mezayef the 3rd one, right? So why are you saying that it's only the person? Meaning the same way you're chayshid, the baldover, the guy who's involved with this case of the documents, that he forged it. So why don't you also be concerned that the other fellow who is taking the doc from the other 2 documents is going to forge it?
Isn't this ein l'davar sof?
Yeah, you're right. It is ein l'davar. In the Havamina, it's ein l'davar sof, right? But that's maybe what the Teretz is saying, right? Kulei.
Especially if you have chuldus that could write.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, that's Rabban referring to the Mishnah Psachim, that you have to check every house around and around in circles. Yeah, Enochanamis. I don't know. So the Gemara answers, "Kulei loy matzi mechaven." Right? They were not mechaven. Right? Meaning, a person, you can't forge signatures that well. Right? Meaning, if the guy didn't have the original documents with him, to forge a memory that way is going to be too hard to do. So only if he himself produces the shtaros, then we're concerned. But if somebody else produces it, so then it's not a problem, which I don't understand clearly, because why couldn't he meet him in a dark alley and give him the old shtaros, right? That's David, I guess that's what you're asking, right? Saying we let him meet this guy, he goes on Craigslist and puts out their free, shtaros, and he shows him the old shtaros, and then it can be done like that. For some reason, the Gemara is not chayshish for that. I'm not sure why.
Yaakov, I don't know are we ever really chayshish for collusion? Because I always assumed, like with Aedis, to say people will collude is not a simple thing. No.
True. That's true.
You're basically
Which
saying
I-
collusion. I always
Yeah.
thought we never assumed that when it comes to scamming the system.
You're right, because based on the history of Klal Yisrael not getting along, right? If they can't get along for good things, they're certainly not going to get along for bad things. Is that what you're saying, Akiva?
Something like, meaning more the idea that like, if it requires a bunch of people to go ahead and pull off a scam, that type of thing would get out, and they'd be able
Right.
to figure out that it's a scam. Other people would prove against that. Once you
That could
start spreading it out.
Yeah, could be. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. It's a ton of on Yeah.
Joe DiMaggio, who made Mamish a fortunes with the autographed balls. He was the first one. They always timed it. It was in. I read it in books that his agent wrote and was signed most of them. He didn't.
Taka?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, it's interesting for like presidents and whatnot. It's a famous thing that presidents actually many times don't even sign those signatures.
Right. True.
Be a site. It's not even a forgery. Like they didn't necessarily sign
Right.
those signatures.
That's true.
It's like those letters you get in the mail that they make it look like it's a handwriting from some guy trying to buy your house or whatever, and he crosses things out and all that stuff.
Yeah, from the fundraisers.
I didn't want to say that, but very good.
Are you saying that the fundraiser himself does not appreciate my donation? You know what I say to Darche?
Yeah, all right, whatever. We're not going down that road. All right. Anyways, okay. Turn up on it.
You
Right?
remember that you recorded all of you guys.
There you go. All right. So every night we get you some. Sorry.
That's it.
All right. So turn up on it. Yeah. So this is a very interesting din. This is Mamish backs up the police. I mean, before this I don't know. I always wondered that these cops testify from their notes, right? With the traffic court, they just read their notes. From this Gemara, it's Mamish Mashma that's a perfectly legitimate edus, right? Even maybe 10 years later, when you kick the can down the road till you finally go to court, the guy takes out his old notebook, he just reads out of it, he doesn't know what he's saying, right? So Tanaraban, Kaisev Adam may do say al shtar. So a person can write his edus down on the shtar, so he doesn't forget it. And you could use that shtar to say edus even after many years. But he has to remember something on his own, right? Meaning he has to have some memory of what went on without looking at his notebook. Meaning he can't just go to the notebook and say, hey, I actually saw this guy lend him money. Let me go try and see if the guy ever paid him back. That doesn't work. He has to have of memory, and then he goes to the notebook to try and jog his memory. That's Rav Huna. Rav Yochanan Amar, even if he doesn't remember anything, he just goes to his notebook and he can read straight out of his notebook. So we see from Rav Yochanan that if you have two people that they know edus, and one of them forgot, so we see that you can remind. Meaning, if you can remind yourself from a piece of paper, then one aid can remind the other aid. Now I don't know if the edus is going to withstand the cross. How do you call it? How is it called?
Cross-examination.
Oh, if a guy does cross-examination. Yeah, thank you. So I'm saying I don't know if it'll survive cross-examination, but you're allowed to do it. So then the Gemara says, what about the guy who he's coming to say edus for when he comes to court? This is called leading the witness, right? I think that's what they call, right? So what happens if the guy who it's negeya to is pushing the aid to say, you remember this, remember that? So what's the din? Rav Chaviva Amar afilu atzmai, even if he himself reminds him, that's fine. Bashi Amar atzmai loy, if he himself, it does not work because you don't know. He could be leading the witness, etc., etc. So the Hachasha atzmai loy, the halacha is that he himself cannot do it.
Are we worried, according to all the shittas that you can't do this type of stuff? Are we worried that he's going to reconstruct the edus wrong? Or are we just worried that it's not going to be we don't consider that mipi? Stop, it has to come from your mouth orally. It can't be something written down. Meaning, what are we worried about here?
I'm not sure. I don't know exactly how it works. See this long taisus. This long taisus has a lot of important points on this whole sugya. right? Of different scenarios, but it's a very long Taisus, so we'll leave that, right? I know I did not learn the whole Taisus, just looked here and there, but either way, so okay, so the Gemara says on Amavez, but if he's a Talmud Chacham, right, a young Talmud Chacham, then even himself, who's the Afilu Atzmai? So Rashi says the Afilu Atzmai is the aid. If the aid is himself a Talmud Chacham, then we're gonna allow him to be led. Right?
I ask you, what's the mechanism by which we're believing or not believing? What mechanism are we believing? What's aidus? What's the? So why is there a difference? So why is there a difference if it's a Talmud Chacham or not? Meaning, if the mechanism lets you believe him, who cares if he's a Talmud Chacham or not?
Because we're saying that he would, the Talmud Chacham would not say Eidus. If it wasn't legitimate, he wouldn't say it.
Which answers what we were saying before, right before.
A regular guy will lie. I mean, that's what you're saying. A regular aid will lie.
I don't think with Choshen anybody's going to lie. A regular guy might be fooled to think that he got the right Eidus.
Who decides who's a Talmud Chacham?
I have no idea.
If that guy in your base managed from the other day, David Cohen's not a Talmud Chacham.
Yeah, I don't know. Who decides? I imagine the girls decide. Yeah. I don't know, but I think that's the point. We're not thinking anybody's going to be a liar here, but a Talmud Chacham is going to chop. You know, 1 second, I don't understand. I don't remember this properly. I'm out. And somebody else who's not learned may say, no, I can remember. Let's see.
Why?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand. The Talmud Chacham will be much careful.
Yeah, because he understands the nuances of Eidus and how fine it has to be. Other people don't necessarily understand how strong, how perfect Eidus has to be. That's the way I understand it. I don't know. Ravashi have a Yediyah Besadusa Rav Kahana. Ravashi knew about Eidus for Rav Kahana, right? Amrale Mida. I Sadusa. Do you remember this Eidus? Amrale Loi. He said, I don't. So he said to him, so Rav Kahana told Ravashi, wasn't it this and this? Amrale Lo Yadaini said, I don't know. Ravashi, but in the end, Ravashi remembered. So Asidle, and he said the Eidus. So Chazil Rav Kahana Machasam. They saw Rav Kahana, who was I don't know exactly what he saw. Like Sachsa means his mouth was closed, meaning he was in shock, I guess. So Amrale, mi savra salah kalach kasamchina. Do you think the reason why you're shocked is because you think I'm relying on you? I put it onto myself, and I remembered on my own. I remembered without you. It took me a while, but I remembered without you. Right? So it wasn't because of Rav Kahana's prodding that he remembered. Right? Yeah, fine. So the Gemara says Tanan Hasam. Now the Gemara goes on a tangent for a different situation. Tanan Hasam. Hatlulius hakroivos bein leir bein lederach. So if you have these a tel is a mound, like a pile, that are carved to the city, right? So we
had that in Erevin, right? That's by Martrik's house.
Good, a tel. Yep, very good, Naftali. Yeah, said like a true Erev check. Yeah. So Tana, so Hatlulius. So these piles, these hills, now the Hachasha is that somebody's buried under this hill, right? So that a kroiv is pain, whether they're close to the city, whether they're close to the streets, whether they're new, meaning you could tell that it's a new mound, or whether it's an old mound. Tameas, they're all tummy because we're assuming that something is buried under there. Harachaikas, right? But if they're far away from the city or streets, Chadashas Tahiras, Yishanais, Tameas. So new looking ones are going to be Tahar, and the old ones are going to be Tamei. Right? Why are the new ones Tahar? Because if it was a brand new Kvura, everybody in town would know about it. And if nobody knows what's under this pile, so the assumption is that nothing happened there. But old ones, people could forget, which is how we get into this whole Gemara. Seizu Kraiva, what's considered close to the city? 50 ams. Bezi Yeshena, Yeshana, what's an old one? Shishim Shana, 60 years old. Divir Meir. Rav Yehuda Omer, Kroiva, Shein Kroiva Himena. Kroiva means that it's the closest hill to the city. And Yeshana is Shein Adam Zaychra. Yeshana is that nobody remembers. He goes around the whole town asking, where, you know when this pile was from? Nobody remembers it. Okay. My Iru, my derech. So what does it mean to close to the city and close to the road? Ir mamish and derech mamish. If you say that a city means an actual city and the road means the actual road, right? Or misfeka mimach sekinon tuma. So then it's a suffix. So we're gonna again. We said anything close to the city, anything close to the road, we're gonna make it a tame missuffix. So a misfeka mimach sekinon tuma. Do we make tuma from a suffix? They made an excuse, and they would matar anything in Eretz Yisrael. Right? This is talking about a whole shaila and tumah tara, and in Eretz Yisrael, since it's very important to be tar in Eretz Yisrael, because the Kehanim and the Kachim and the Truma and all that stuff. So therefore, anytime they had a chance to take something that was suffix tummy and make it tar, they did it. Right? So here too, why would you say that anything close to a road or close to a city is going to be tummy? We shouldn't do that. So what's a pshat? So Rab Zeira when it says a city, doesn't mean any city, because any city is a random hill next to a city. Why should you believe somebody's buried under there? We're referring to the part of the city that's close to a Beis HaKvaros. The derech Beis HaKvaros. And when it says a pile, is on a derech next to Beis HaKvaros. Rabban, I just got reminded because you talked about your story with the pigeons. I just got reminded today. A Kohen asked me if he owns a house next to a cemetery, if there's trees there, can he go into his backyard? Mamish, his house right next to a cemetery. You can't even make it up. And Mama, you just reminded me. But anyway, yeah. So that's what we're saying. So the derech means the derech Beis HaKvaros. And now you see a pile next to the road leading to the Beis HaKvaros. So then maybe there's somebody buried under there. Now why? So the Gemara says, Bishlam derech Beis HaKvaros. We understand why derech Beis HaKvaros the zimrin the misrami bein hashmashos. Sometimes there needs to be a burial bein hashmashos right before Shabbos, right? Umikru kavru patel, and they happen to they bury it under the pile because they do it under this mound next to the road. But have a city next to a Beis HaKvaros, right? Why didn't you just go to the Beis HaKvaros? Why would you bury it in the city next to the Beis HaKvaros? Since women will bury their nefel, the babies that they miscarry, and the mukashchin will bury their arms. Meaning, for some reason, it seems like women were embarrassed if they miscarried, so they wouldn't want anybody to realize, so they just do it in an out of place, an out of the way place, right? Or because okay, so it's meaning they don't want anybody to know about it, so they do it there. And the mukashchin put their arms there or any other parts of their body, right? So they just also because of busha, right? Now, one thing. Okay, let's just finish the Gemara first. So ad chamishim amma, up until 50 amas azli l'chudah, she'll go by herself and bring it. The woman will go up to 50 amas away from this road or from the cemetery. She'll go by herself. Tfei dabra inish bahada ulebeis hakvaros azla. Right? She's going to take a man with her, and she's going to go to the Beis HaKvaros. Right? Hilkach tuma be'eretz Yisrael lo machzakinon. So therefore, that's why we're not going to say that there's a chazaka of Eretz Yisrael. We're not going to say that, because anything more than that, more than 50 amas away, we're going to assume is not the situation, right? Okay. So the one thing we learn out from this is nebuch. If somebody loses a limb, is it chayiv and kfura or not?
Yeah.
Right. From this Gemara is mashma, it's chayiv and kfura. But be'etzem, it seems like in the poskim, it's not pashut in the poskim that it's chayiv and kfura. We do it. A limb we do. If it's not a limb, then
what
we
about
don't.
an orla in the bris milah? What isn't that chayiv kfura also? No.
It's not a limb. That's for sure doesn't. I mean, the moilim do it, but
even moilim do.
The Arla, excuse me, the Arla they put into offer. They put it into a jar into offer. You had it in, last week or 2 weeks ago. Mimona offer liyakov. The Balaturim, I think, right away says, or the Targum Yonason, that they put the Mila into the offer that they do bury it.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's in the Parsha. It's
Yes, they do. I could be made that. Yes.
But I thought they put it in.
Okay.
They don't bury in
They
the
put it in a
yard.
jar that usually they have offer in it, that they put it into a jar like that, and then
Well, that's what they do. That's
take
what they do on Shabbos and Yom Tov.
Yeah,
They do it
okay.
in the yard.
Okay, all right.
But if you go through the sugya, it's not so pashut at all that you have to bury a limb. The reason why they do it is because it will be matama kaihan. So Mamela, you bury it away from so where Kahanim won't step over it, whatever it is.
What happens if somebody has a limb reattached? The din on that. It was a guy never has an accident and something he loses a finger and then they reattach it. What happens? What's the din on that?
What do you mean? What's the din? What's the problem?
Is it Tomei? It was disattached. It was taken apart. It was a piece of. It was a limb, a loose limb that was not attached to the body.
Is it still considered Ever Menachai? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And a Hanami. I don't know. I don't know exactly how that would be. But either way, so that's what you see. Lamaisada on Hug is to bury limbs. Fine. So so what does this have to do with our Gemara? Go ahead.
I'm not a rabbi or a doctor, either one, but if as far as I know, if they could reattach it, it was still alive. That limb never died. That finger never died. Then they could reattach it.
Right. It's fine. I was actually talking to a doctor about it this week about teeth, and he said if within 45 minutes the tooth could be saved. It gets put back in if a tooth falls out in an accident. But I don't know how that works.
It's true. They actually put on protocol now that you put the tooth back and it will regrow. It will attach itself.
There you go. Okay. So
Put it in the milk if it falls out.
But I forgot Harold's on. What are you saying, Harold?
Put it in milk if it falls out.
You put it in milk?
Put it in milk and then bring it to the doctor.
For how long?
As soon as you can, as fast as you can.
But you put it in milk.
Wow.
The milk is one of the things.
Reattach right away, but whatever.
Interesting. Very good. Okay, so you see, whatever. So there is an Ever Menachai. It's considered still alive. Okay, I don't know. Either way, so what is
if it's Ever Menachai, is it Matame, no?
It should be Matame,
even
yes.
If it's alive, yeah, so even if it's alive, no? Is that considered Ever Menachai?
I don't know. Well, maybe once you
that was the question.
Yeah, it's a good question. So once you reattach it, that's the time. Anyways, what are you saying? So what does this have to do with our Gemara? Because we said 60 years, you can have forgetfulness up to 60 years. So that's what the Gemara says. Amar Avtis, the Shmami number of Meir, Hai Sadusa, an Eidos Atin Shnin Midka. Up to 60 years, we can assume a person remembers. I don't know. I do the Daf Yomi. I ain't remembering nothing. Forget 60 years. How about 60 minutes? Right? but either way, so we're saying up to 60 years. The Gemara says, and that's not true. Hasam, who the Loiramila, there, nobody was thinking about it by the burial. So maybe up to 60 years, you'll remember who was buried there. But here, since you know about this Eidos, so you might remember it for a lot longer than 60 years too. So this whole sugya with where the things are buried is not necessarily a raya to anything. Okay, we'll stop over here. Tomorrow's daf ain't a war. Tomorrow's daf. Yeah.
Right.
Brother, it's Yaakov.
Have a good night.
Yaakov.
What's that?
Go ahead. Who's talking? Yeah. Go ahead, Abram. You hear me?
Yeah. Your mother cut my nails on Friday, Rosh Chodesh.
You could cut your nails this year.
You didn't get the text? You could cut your nails all week this week.
This week, I don't know
That's
Friday.
right. No, Friday. No, if you don't normally cut your nail, if you don't normally take a haircut on Friday, then you don't. Look who's live and in person.
Whoa.
Hey, can you send underwear? I don't have underwear. And Aaron, send me some emails.
I was gonna say, Parrots, I'm gonna send you an email, Parrots.
Send me emails. Where's the camp mother?
Parrots, go find Simcha and buy him a French fry or something, will you?
Yeah, right.
They must be having a barbecue in camp.
Parrot, he said a French fry, not French fries. Don't get more than one.
Robbie, nobody asked you,
Not
Robbie.
a time.
Yeah,
We have a mini from Irish.
Aaron, I really appreciated the second half WhatsApp halacha today. I didn't know what to do without it.
The what?
I said I didn't know what to do without that second half WhatsApp halacha today.
What do you say?
I said I appreciated the second half WhatsApp halacha.
You know what? I'm just trying to avoid people from asking the same question over and over again. You know what I mean?
That's how you know what halacha tweet's going to come out, by how many questions you got that day of it.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, it's true.
Does
It's
it
true.
at least help to do you notice less texts if you send it
I
out?
can't- There's no way to tell. But here's my question. You know how many shilos already I got? Can I eat meat on Rosh Chodesh? Can I start my meal before Thursday, before Shkia? Can I continue eating meat? Right? Now, when is the best time to send out that text? Tomorrow or Thursday?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow? But then they forget about it by Thursday.
What? Jacob, you're gonna get the questions anyways. Who are you kidding?
I
What you should do is just block.
Wait, I have a question. It's Yaakov. Are the questions coming from people that are getting the text messages or random people?
Are they coming? No, both.
Well, you should tell the people for sure who are asking the questions to sign up so you'll get less questions.
I do. Anytime somebody asks me a question that was texted, I have an auto text that goes out. Please sign up. And a lot of times they don't sign up. I hate it when I scroll back and I
No, you
see
should
that.
say that. Don't ask me a shayla if you're not going to sign up. You give me double work.
That's right. So I don't want to.
I mean, in the nicest possible way. I mean.
Oh, so the first time I send it to them, then if I see that they asked it again, I ask them point blank, did you sign up for the halacha text? And you'd be surprised how many say, oh, I do. Let me check. Oh, okay. So
I usually ask you like that. I usually ask you a question before I see it. And then just look at the message from today, usually answer.
And then
how many people are Meyer Hatter that they assume that you actually want to hear from them?
It's a funny thing. It's a funny thing you say that, Akiva, because I used to get their pregnancy and then their labor shilas and this and that. They don't tell me they had a baby. Next time I hear from them is they have their next Tazno Shpacha shilah. So I used to be like, what's the matter with these people? They don't let me know they had a baby. And a lot of times when the few people that I was close to was like, why didn't you tell me you had a baby? You don't think I'm concerned? They said, no, we didn't want to bother you. We know you don't like to be bothered.
That's just weird.
That's a bad kind of though. Like they're gonna bother you about the bad stuff, but the good stuff they won't give you. That's like not fair.
That's a weird thing. Wait, you said I only get text messages. Is a WhatsApp also?
The status is.
No, it's a WhatsApp status. It's the same thing.
I don't know why my
status is it's all
working.
Yeah, I don't know. You got to speak to Icky about that.
No, I don't care. I like the status more.
The status is the same thing as the text.
Tiago, I think I told you that one time. The Boston Rebbe told me that was one of the biggest tsar that people caused his father, was that they would ask him to daven for them, or they would tell him all the tsars, and the people would get better. They would never tell him.
Maybe they didn't want to boost his ego. They don't want to,
No, he was concerned. He had genuine concern for people. He used to cry for people, and then no one ever told him anything.
I actually had a woman last week who had asked me about they thought they saw on the sonogram a higher risk for Down syndrome, and should they do the genetic testing? Should they not? I said it's up to you. Blah blah blah. They did it, and fine. A week later, she texted me, I know you probably never hear back any news, but Baruch Hashem, all the tests came back fine. I was like, I said, I really appreciate you telling that to me. Not that I had any recollection over the conversation, but that's my own selfish self. But anyways, yeah.
I'm sorry if it's an inappropriate question, but I'm itching to ask you. What's on your head?
Oh, a headband, because I did exercise. It's a headband.
Jump roping.
Okay.
Yes.
Still trying to get a bigger yarmulke than Diddy?
Yeah, that's really what. If you found something even more machmer, that was the.
Yes, no, it's really a headband, but I push it over the top of my head as a yarmulke because I can't find my other yarmulke, and I don't want to schwitz up my only good yarmulke.
Okay.
All right.
Anyways, yes.
It's
All righty. Now we got to
to
get a minion from Meyer for Peretz before he goes back. Yeah, what are you
Yeah,
saying?
you didn't get invited to the Mets Yankees game.
Can you believe it? And I had tickets and I sold them.
Oh, man.
I'm coming to Finman for Shabbos, Yaakov, so I'll be close to you if you need anything.
All right. So come visit.
I'll come visit.
Yeah.
Jackie,
All
you're
right.
missing a good game here.
What do you think? What?
I said you're missing a good Mets Yankees game.
Oh, yeah. Maybe I should go back and jump rope some more. Yeah. What are you saying, Mike?
Quick,
something?
Yeah, just a quick question.
What are you sick?
Yeah, a little COVID.
You did a good jump rope today. 700 calories.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Quick question, and
I didn't do
that's not creepy at all.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you want,
Yes,
I can
it is.
follow up with you, but I'm sure from your answer, I don't have to. You'll know what I'm going to do. If I'm on the plane and you have to go to the bathroom and there's a line and you want to eat something afterwards, do you have to wash? Do you have to go to the bathroom, say hackchasha, go out and then go back in again and wash again for bread? Or can you wash one time, make hackchasha, then al tisadayim?
You spoke.
No,
you,
so
you
what
said
you do
this
is you
already
wash one time.
Huh?
You wash your hands, then you go make hamaitzi, then you say hackchasha.
Which way do you wash your hands?
What?
Which way do you wash your hands, though?
Yeah, anyway, it doesn't make a difference.
Do you wash it different ways?
Nah,
Doesn't matter.
No.
And that's
you don't need a cup to wash your hands after hackchasha.
listen, and that's b'diavad.
Yeah,
That's only that's the chatchili should do it twice.
That's what?
I'm saying that's just shasat if you're on a plane.
But it's even no, you don't for the washing. Yeah. It's not even necessarily shasat chak.
So if you have to go to the bathroom and you want to wash, well, why wouldn't you do it twice?
You could. You could do it twice.
Yes, people are waiting, and you don't want to be mitzvah or somebody for waiting, so you just do it. You wash one time.
Yeah,
there's a line in the bathroom. Like where you're going to use it twice. People got to go, and this guy's being farfrumped and washing his hands twice.
Yeah,
not a problem. I got you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, it's good to hear from
very
you.
handy.
Okay, good. We'll feel good.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night.